So the Indian Contract Act lays out all the provisions for the performance of a contract. So these are the 5 important remedies, we say, remedies for breach of contract. So that is what the court will order him instead of claiming the damages or instead of paying for the damages. Saying that you have to stop whatever the performance you are going to do, so that should be stopped. Hi and a warm welcome to you all dear students. I, JAYALAKSHMIPURAM, Commerce Faculty, Department of Commerce, Vidhyaashram First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. Dear students, today I am going to take up the session 5 for unit 3. So this is regarding remedies for breach of contract. So this is the last part in this particular unit. So this is the last topic of this particular unit. So what do you mean by breach of contract? I told you, breach of contract means when any of the parties, if they are not fulfilling their obligations or the promises which has been made, if it is not done so, then then we call it as a breach of contract. So here, what are the remedies? Because one party is not doing his obligation or fulfilling his obligation for the other party. So in that case, the other party will be suffering. So in this case, what happens? The parties, that the other party who is under loss or who is at is no fault of him, who is suffering because of the fault of the other party, that is A, we say, so he should get some compensation. So what are the remedies for it? So the Indian Contract Act lays out all the provisions for the performance of a contract. So you know that according to Indian Contract Act of 1872, it says that it lays out all the provisions for performing that particular contract. It also contains, there are some provisions in case if there is some breach of contract by either of the parties. Now, first thing it says, when a promise or agreement is broken, so any promise or any agreement is broken by any of the parties, we call it as a breach of contract. That's what I said. So if any promise or any obligation is not been done, or agreement is been broken by any of the parties, it is called as the breach of contract. Now, it says, so when either of the parties does not keep their end of the agreement or does not fulfill their commitment or the obligation as per the terms and conditions of the contract, then it is called as a breach of contract. Now coming to what are the various remedies for this breach of contract. Students, it says we have that is recession of contract. The second remedy is sue for damages. That means you can claim for the damages. Then sue for specific performance. You can sue him in the court of law or you can pull him in the court of law for the specific performance. Then injunction order and the quantum merit. So these are the 5 important remedies, we say, remedies for breach of contract. Now let us understand one by one. Now we'll take up the recession of contract. What is this recession of contract? It is one type of contract where you are going to take this as a remedy for the breach of contract. So when one of the parties to the contract does not fulfill his obligation, right? Then what happens? The other party can rescind the contract and thereby he can refuse the performance of his obligation. So when one of the party is not fulfilling the obligation, in that case, the other party, that is A and B we have. So in that A is not doing his obligation and B is a sufferer for that. So here this B can rescind the contract. That means he can refuse the performance of his obligation towards A. So as per the Indian Contract Act, the party that rescinds the contract, as per the Indian Contract Act, it says the contract must restore any benefits he got under the said agreement. And therefore it says that particular statement where that particular party has rescinded the contract or broken the contract is entitled to receive, that is the party who was suffering because of the default of the other party. So here it says the contract is entitled to receive the damages or compensation for such kind of recession from the party A. So B can get the recession from party A because A has violated the rules and terms and conditions and thereby he is not meeting so. Second thing is sue for damages. Now according to this contract, it says that the party who has suffered, now B is the party who has suffered, and since the other party has broken the contract, that is A has broken the contract, now B can claim the compensation for the loss. So here this person can compensation for the loss or the damages which is caused by A, and that is in normal course of business. So this is the normal procedure. But such damages will not be payable if the loss is abnormal in nature. So sometimes what happens, the damages which is been claimed by B will not be payable by A, because that particular loss is abnormal in nature, that is not in the ordinary course of business. So during the natural or ordinary course of business, it cannot happen. So there are two types of damages according to this particular act. Now which are those? One is liquidated damages, second is unliquidated damages. Now liquidated damages means where sometimes the parties to the contract, whether it's A or B, will agree to the amount payable in the case of breach. Now if A and B are partners are there, if there is a breach of contract, then any of the parties who has done it, they are going to say that we are going to pay for you, pay for the compensation. So pay in case of breach. If there is a they'll put a condition, or they say that in case there is a breach of contract, then I will surely pay you the amount for the loss or as a compensation. So this is known as liquidated damages. What about unliquidated damages? Here the amount payable due to the breach of contract is assessed by the court. So here it is by mutual concern, but again if you take case B where it says unliquidated damages means where it says the court will order the party who has breached the contract to pay or for the compensation. So assessed by the courts or any other appropriate authorities, so they will make that particular party who has broken the contract, so who has come to the breach of contract or who has broken that particular contract or agreement, so from him they are going to order him to pay the compensation to the other party who has suffered the loss. The third is sue for specific performance. So this means it says the party in breach will actually have to carry out his duties. So under this condition, that is the third remedy, sue for specific performance, here the party who is in breach, will actually have to carry out his duties, right? Whatever duties is there, that duties has to be carried out according to the contract. So in some of the cases what happens, the court will insist the other party that the party carry out the agreement. So some cases where he is not able to do his duty or to take out his duty, the party one who has the party one who has breached the contract or one who has broken the contract, so he will on his own, he will continue with his duties. Or sometimes what happens, the court will enter and they will insist the party who has breached the contract or has broken the contract to carry out the agreement. Now if so, any of the parties fails to perform their contract, so in any of the case, if A or B, if any of these parties, if they breach the contract or they fail to do the performance or obligation which has been agreed upon in the contract, the court may order them to do so. So in this case, the court will order them to do that particular obligation or complete that particular promise or the obligations. So this is a decree of specific performance and is granted instead of damages. So instead of paying the damages, the court will say here in this particular case, that is sue for specific performance, where the court will order the party, one who has breached the contract, to continue the contract and do his obligation, whatever the duties he had, what are the obligation, what are the conditions he had put, or whatever the condition he had agreed upon to do, so that has to be fulfilled. So that is what the court will order him instead of claiming the damages or instead of paying for the damages. So here you can see A decided to buy a parcel of land from B. So A has decided to purchase a land from B, a part of land. But B is then refused to sell. B is not accepting it. He says no. So the court can order B to perform his duties. So here the court will order this particular person to perform his duties, that is to sell a part of land, right? So under the contract and sell the land to A. So the land will be sold to A. That's because according to the third important sue for specific performance, because of the breach of contract by B. So now the court has ordered B to purchase that particular land. So here then B refuses to sell. So A decided to purchase the land from B, but B is refusing. Now court will order B to sell the land to A and A will purchase the land. The fourth one is injunction. So this is also one of the remedies for breach of contract. So under this particular remedy, it says an injunction is basically like a decree or for the specific performance for the negative contract. So this is also basically it is a decree or the order which has been passed by the court because for the negative contract. Now an injunction is a court order. What is an injunction? It is a court order restraining a person from doing a particular act. So they are saying that you should not do this particular act. Now somebody wants to sell, A and B are there. So in this both the parties, A is having agreement with B to sell the land, but B is wanting to buy that particular land. In that case what happens? This particular land is an illegal land. So where B says no, I cannot buy it, in that case A sells, you have to stop that sale deed or the sale agreement. So the court may grant an injunction to stop a party of a contract from doing something he promised not to do. So under this injunction order, it says the court will pass or grant an injunction order, that is to stop one of the party of the contract where he is from doing something that is he promised not to do. Now in this case it is a prohibitory injunction. The court stops the commission of an act, and it is a mandatory or compulsory injunction. It will stop the continuance of the act that is unlawful. So under this particular injunction, it says the court will pass a decree or an order saying that you have to stop whatever the performance you are going to do. So that should be stopped because it is creating problem to the other party. The next one is quantum merit. Quantum merit literally translate as much is earned. Quantum merit means, if you translate this quantum merit, it says as much is earned. So at the times when one of the parties to the contract is prevented from finishing. So here under this particular remedy, that is quantum merit, it says if one of the party to the contract, whether it is A or B, example, is prevented from finishing his work or the performance of a contract by the other party, he can claim the quantum merit. So A and B are the parties, and A has promised to do something, but B is refusing that and says that don't do that particular work to A. So in that, the A can go to he can claim the quantum merit. Now he must be paid a reasonable remuneration for the part of the contract, that is he has already performed. Now already he has performed some of the acts. So A has already performed some of the acts to B, but the remaining part he has to perform. So in this case, this could be remuneration for the services he has provided or the value of the work he has already done. So here this person B has to pay to A because out of whatever the contract he made, so this person B, he has to pay A, that is he needs to pay A because already half of the portion or half of the work is been completed according to the promise which he had made, and remaining half is pending. So in this case, the work which is done, the half of the work for that B has to pay for A. So this is called as quantum merit. So dear students, these are the various remedies for the breach of contract. So I'll just explain to you again, that is the highlights I'll give you. What are the meaning of remedy for breach of contract? We have understood, right? And here the five important remedies: recession of contract, sue for damages, sue for specific performance, injunction, and quantum merit. And I explained to you what is recession of a contract. So it says when one of the parties to contract does not fulfill his obligation, then the other party has to rescind the contract or stop the contract and refuse the performance of his obligation. Secondly, sue for damages. So it says that the party who has suffered because of the other party was not doing the work, or because of stopping the contract or broken the contract, the other party has broken the promises, can claim the compensation for the loss or damages which is caused to them in the normal course of business. Then we have under this two types. One is liquidated damages and unliquidated damages. Liquidated damages, where the party to contract will agree to the amount payable in the case of breach, but whereas unliquidated damages, it says the amount payable due to the breach of contract is assessed by the court or any other appropriate authorities. Then third is sue for specific performance. Here the court will say the party who has breached the contract will actually have to carry out that particular work or the duties which has been assigned or agreed upon between the parties according to the contract. Now, in some certain cases, what happens? They will carry on, but in some certain cases, they will not carry on. In that case, the court will insist that particular party who has breached the contract to carry out that particular agreement. Injunction is where it is basically a decree or the order from the court for a specific performance, that is for the negative contract. So, if any of the party is breached the contract and other party is like in the court order where is restraining that particular person doing a particular act, then quantum merit is literally means translate as like as much is earned. That means when any of the parties, then any of the parties to the contract is prevented from finishing his performance, then in that case the other party can claim a quantum merit. That means if half of the work is or obligation duty what the A has done to B and B is stopping now to A to do that. Now already A has done complete 50% of that particular work or the promise which he made, he has done on his part. So for that work which he has completed, so for that particular work he needs to be compensated or been paid off. So these are the important topics, students. It can be asked for 5 marks or it can be asked for 10 marks also regarding the breach, that is the remedies for breach of contract. So I think you understood the topic which I covered to you regarding the remedies for breach of contract. So this is the end of that particular unit 3, okay, that is the contingency contracts. So see you students in the next session. We'll take up unit 4, that is regarding intellectual property acts, okay. So till then, take care, have a nice day. Thank you students.